My mother is saying hurtful things to my black wife. I know she didn't mean it and she's just curious, but it ruins our relationship. I am white and me and my family all grew up in the suburbs where most of the people we were surrounded with are white. Almost 3 years ago I got married to a black girl named Destiny. For the most part, we've gotten along with our family great. I have 2 sisters who are both married as well, to white guys. Our family always tries to do fun stuff together, like get together on birthdays and Christmas, etc. One of the things we do together is a yearly weekend camping trip, in the warmer months. The 8 of us will just go camping together for a weekend. This year's get-together was supposed to be a couple weekends from now, on Mother's Day weekend. Over the course of me being with my wife, and being around our family, my mother has sometimes, naively, said some hurtful comments to my wife. My wife has locks, and early on in our marriage, my mom would often look at her hair and try to touch it and make comments like, "Oh my gosh, this is your natural hair? Wow, I just can't believe this hair is yours and it's not braided or anything." This would make my wife feel very uncomfortable as she felt like she was on display for my mom, as if she was looking at an alien or something. So, after a few of these instances, I reached out to my mom and asked her to please not try to touch my wife's hair anymore, but there would be other comments too. This one time it was just me, my wife, and my parents together, and my wife would open up about her troubled past, and my mom would make comments like, "Wow, that's awful." Growing up we used to read stories about terrible things like that in the paper. I never knew I would actually know someone in real life who went through those sorts of things like not having both parents in the home, being beaten by people, etc. At the family campout weekend last year, some of us were talking about some burgers that someone made, and one of them ended up being super dark and burnt. And my mom tried to make a joke about the burnt burger and said, "Wow, that one's way darker than all the rest, just like you." Destiny, me, my wife, and my sister, who is in the room, gave a courtesy laugh, but I think it made all of us just feel uncomfortable. Later that night in our room, my wife vented to me how she thought it was hurtful, and a bad joke. The next morning my mom did approach my wife and apologized to her about it, but a few months after that, which was a few months ago from now, my mom made another unnecessary comment to us. My wife had posted a video of us together, and there is a Tupac song in the background. My mom thought some of the lyrics in the song were questionable, so she messaged me privately, saying, "Hey, are you sure that song is the best song to use with your video? I heard some of the lyrics and they might give off a bad impression to people. Isn't there a better way to show your love for Jesus to people? We're all Christians." So, I of course showed this message to my wife, because not only did I not think there's anything wrong with the song, but I gave my wife the okay to post it. And my wife took offense to it because it's another instance where my mom doesn't understand the culture my wife is coming from, and so, she takes things the wrong way and opens her mouth at times when it's not even necessary. No one else had a problem with the song in our video, including our friends and close friends we both know, black and white. But my mom took it upon herself to message me sharing her opinion about it. At this point, I took it upon myself to have a phone conversation with my mom, letting her know that some of the things she's been saying is a little out of bounds, and that you need to be careful how you say things to my wife or about my wife, because there are different cultures at play that you don't really know about or understand, and that I, as her husband, while I am white, feel like I have a pretty good handle on things, in terms of running our marriage and whatnot, so, we don't need you to give your opinion on things like that. We live in the city and our close mutual friends come from diverse backgrounds, and if either of us do something that's out of bounds, they let us know about it, so, that was a few months ago. No issues since then. However, a few months ago my mom made it known that she wants the family campout weekend to be over Mother's Day weekend this year so she can have a nice Mother's Day weekend with all of us, and they mentioned the cost it would be for each couple to go. Only a couple hundred, but me and my wife make a very modest amount of money. We're not really sure how much my one sister and her husband makes, but my other sister and her husband do make a good amount of money. It's just common sense based off of what we know they do for their jobs and the lifestyle they live, etc. So, we privately told my parents that we would do that, but we would pay them for it over the course of a few months, not all at once. So, over the past few months, we developed a payment plan with them where we would Venmo them a quarter of the money each month, culminating in next month, May, where we could pay them the final amount. So, last week, my mom takes it upon herself to message the entire family about the Mother's Day camping weekend that she is looking forward to, she just talks about how much she's looking forward to it and how much she loves us, and at the end she mentions what everyone still owes them for the trip. So, you guys are fully paid, my rich sister and brother-in-law. So, you guys are partially paid, me and my wife, and so, you guys still owe us, my other sister and her husband. She said this to the whole family, like in our family group text thread. This really annoyed me and my wife, because we felt very uncomfortable about the rest of our family knowing that we have only partially paid, like we feel like our financial business is no one else's business, and that us paying my parents should be between us and them alone. And the fact that she told everyone else that me and my wife have only partially paid makes us look bad and embarrasses both of us. At this point my wife has had it with my mom saying things to make her feel uncomfortable. And she was very adamant that she now does not want to go on this family weekend. So, I texted my mom that we will not be coming and told her exactly why. I first asked her to not talk about our financial stuff like that to the rest of the family, and that it makes both of us feel uncomfortable. So, told her, at my wife's request, that, due to this, and the other past racial/cultural comments made towards my wife, that she does not feel comfortable going on the weekend trip. And that I will be standing by her and not going either. So, my mom texted me back saying that she is sorry and that she is confused as to what racial comments I'm referring to or wanting to know what was said to my wife. Which again annoyed me and my wife because we've talked about this sort of thing with her before, so, we're confused as to how she does not know what I'm referring to. My mom said she just will cancel the whole entire weekend now and just refund everybody their money. We told her no, please do not cancel because of us. But she said that it is supposed to be a family weekend and that if everyone else is there, and not us, they're going to be wondering why we're not there and asking questions about why we're not there. So, my mom told us don't worry, they'll cancel it, but we'll word it in a way to make it look like it's my parents' idea and not ours. This annoyed me and my wife even more because we felt like she is not being honest with everyone else and canceling a whole weekend just because me and her won't be there. So, my mom then sends a text out to the whole family saying, hey, since life is busy and things are expensive, how do you guys feel about if we just canceled the Mother's Day weekend and we can refund everybody? That way we can still get together on Mother's Day, and everyone can have more money in their pockets. I think she was thinking both my sisters and their husbands would just agree to cancel, which would cover up everything, but both of my sisters said no, they want to go and they're looking forward to it and they want to do this Mother's Day weekend for my mom. So, it kind of backfired on my mom because now, if the weekend doesn't happen, it will still make it look like me and my wife are the reason why the weekend is not happening. So, at this point, my mom and dad are still saying they don't know what racial or cultural comments I was referring to about my wife, and they want to talk with us about it. My sisters and their husbands are totally in the dark. My wife is saying that we should all have a family sit down and talk to get this all on the table and all out in the open. My mom is asking for a meetup with just my parents, me and my wife. But my wife strongly just wants all 8 of us to get together and talk about all of this. Because my sisters and her husband either don't know that my mom has been making these sort of comments to us, or they just don't understand how it's having a lingering effect on my wife and our relationship with our mom. Now it's time for the next story. Story 2. I found out something big about my perfect marriage and my perfect husband. I don't know how to say, but, well, he has another daughter. My 34F life is falling apart and it's all thanks to my husband. We had a perfect life, both of us worked in the jobs we loved, we have a beautiful daughter, 10F, and a healthy son, 5M. When I was pregnant with our son we both almost died due to complications. So, before the birth and even afterwards I didn't want to have sex, why would I? I almost died and my body was in pain for months afterwards even with strong medication. I thought my husband understood because he never pushed me for sex or even asked. I thought it was because he understood my pain, but apparently he was just getting it from somewhere else. A few months ago we were visited by Child Protective Services. I was terrified at first, frantically thinking of what we did wrong with our children to cause a visit. But no, as it turns out some woman I've never met before died in a car accident leaving behind a daughter, and my husband's name was on the girl's birth certificate and he was named in the woman's will as the father. I thought it was a mistake at first, until my husband told me the truth. As it turns out, while I was suffering my pregnancy and the after effects of almost dying, my husband would go to a woman he knew at work and get it off with her. He said this as if he did me a favor. Well, as the CPS worker explained to us, my husband is her closest living relative that can care for her. The woman's family apparently wanted nothing to do with the poor little girl. When she asked us if we wanted to take her in, I said yes. Yes, I know this might be the true cause of all my issues, but my husband pawned that poor girl off to live with her single mother for 5 years. He doesn't get to pawn her away when she needs help. She's his responsibility, and now is ours. I told him I'll help take care of the necessary visits for wellness checks and help with whatever CPS wants us to do. All he had to do was explain everything to our children. The fact I'm saying this tells you what he did. Yes, nothing. We had to clean out a room and buy new furniture and even looked for some toys. Our children go to a private school, so I picked up some more work hours in order to be able to afford her tuition. I was the one who had to tell our extended families the big change because he didn't want to do so. I did almost all the heavy lifting. So, color me shocked, and his daughter finally joins our family 2 weeks ago, and the first words out of our children's mouths was, "Who's that?" Yes, I was the one who had to tell our children's school, extended families, family doctors, and my workplace about my husband's affair and subsequent addition to our family. But he couldn't tell our children, being he was too ashamed to face them. So, guess who was the one who had to explain that they have a sister now as I'm trying to settle the poor girl into her new home and room? And shocker, our children didn't take the news well as it was happening right in front of them. My daughter was screaming while crying, causing my son and the little girl to cry. A situation that could have been avoided if my husband just did the one thing I asked of him and explained everything to them much sooner. It's been 2 weeks of her living with us and the situation hasn't improved. My husband has not picked up the slack that comes with having a new addition to the family, so we're struggling right now to make ends meet. I feel embarrassed bringing all 3 children around for appointments and groceries because the little girl is very much obviously not mine, and I can tell people are judging our family. My daughter is much moodier and less happy and refuses to even acknowledge our newest addition to the family. Our son doesn't really understand what is going on, and it's causing even him to lash out. And I don't even know how to help the poor little girl, because I know that if I feel like my life is falling apart, she must feel even worse. I suggested family therapy for our children, even just marriage therapy, so we can hopefully move past this and work together as a unit for all the children. He's refused everything, saying that he knows he'll be lectured by everyone when all he was doing was trying to help me. I just don't know how to fix this. Please help me. I don't want to divorce him because I just know that will make it worse for the kids, but that's the only option my family is telling me. Meanwhile, his family is begging me to make this work and to just look past it. Thank you, I hear you all loud and clear. We'll be looking into therapy for me and the children and hopefully a good divorce lawyer. But first I need to get some answers because some of you are raising some good points. Update. I'm sorry, you all were right. It was a lie. When all of you were pointing out how the kids' responses to youngest arriving didn't make sense, it made me realize how correct that is. They came home to a room all made up and I made passing comments to them asking about how excited they were for youngest's arrival. They should have known about her. At this point I decided to just ask my eldest daughter directly because she was still so upset about it, and I think subconsciously knew I wasn't going to get the truth from husband. So, I went to her room while she was lying in bed and I asked her. I told her that I asked her father to explain to the two of them what was going to happen. They saw her new room, I talked about her to them, so I don't understand my eldest's reaction. So, yes, it turns out husband didn't tell them and then me the truth. A surprise to no one, I am figuring out. The story he told the kids was that youngest was a daughter of one of our friends, and we felt so bad we had to take her in. Nothing about her being their half-sister or him having a daughter with another woman. Well, when she came home that day and the kids asked who she was, the pictures we were able to share of youngest, she had braids in and wore much different clothing than when she arrived. It was my response to them that ruined his little lie. This is youngest's name, your half-sister, remember? Our son was too young to really get what it meant, but our daughter did. That's why she freaked out that day, not because of the new addition to the family but because what the new addition meant. I apologized for causing her to freak out that day, for not sitting both her and her brother down for a real discussion over how they feel and to make sure their father did what he was supposed to do, and apologized for only talking to her now after she had a much-deserved reaction to it all. My daughter accepted the apology, and I asked her if that was why she was distant from the youngest. She told me that's part of it, and because word got out at her school about what the newest addition to our family going to the school meant, so now she's getting teased and picked on for having a father who cheated. It broke my heart realizing just how badly I messed up. By continuing to beg the spineless man they called a father to help them and then allowing myself to get shut down, I was essentially allowing all the kids' needs to be ignored. I told daughter I'll sign her and her brother and sister up for therapy. Of course the pathetic man tried to plead with me not to when I mentioned signing the kids up, but I told him to give it up already. All 3 children's lives have changed, and it will help them adjust with a professional to speak to. He's been grumbling and whining about it, but I don't care anymore. And this might cause many to be upset with me, but I'm in the process with husband to have him transfer custody of youngest to me. I've grown to care for her, and as some comments in my last post have pointed out, once I do divorce him and leave with our kids, I don't doubt he'll treat her awfully or neglect her. He's been right on board, and it took some convincing, but his parents finally agreed to be witnesses. I got all the paperwork set up and scheduled an appointment with an attorney to help with anything else. Once that happens, I'll try to get everything I need in order to have a smoother divorce and then subsequent move to be closer to my family. Thank you to everyone for giving me a good slap in the face and help me realize that the children and I deserve better, and I was being so gullible into thinking a man who cheats on his dying pregnant wife is deserving of any respect.